Today we will be examining the breaststroke in swimming. Some biomechanical concepts pertinent to this movement are drag, propulsive drag, torque, lift, and buoyancy. A basic understanding of these concepts is necessary for understanding the breaststroke and hopefully improving the form of anyone trying to learn the movement. For a solid object moving through a fluid or gas, drag is the sum of all the aerodynamic or hydrodynamic forces in the direction of the external fluid flow. It therefore acts to oppose the motion of the object, and in a powered vehicle it is overcome by thrust. Propulsive drag is a kind of drag swimmers intentionally manipulate to propel themselves through the water. Swimmers propel themselves through successive propulsive segmental actions that intend to push water backwards in relation to the intended direction for entire body movement. A fluid flowing past the surface of a body exerts a force on it. Lift is the component of this force that is perpendicular to the oncoming flow direction. According to Bernoulli's principle, regions of high velocity fluid flow are associated with regions of relatively low pressure, and regions of relatively low velocity are associated with regions of relative high pressure. When these regions of relative low and high pressure are created on opposite sides of a foil, such as a hand, the result is a lift force perpendicular to the foil from the zone of high pressure to the low pressure zone. Lift is partially responsible for the movement of a swimmer through water. Lift is resisted by downward movement of the hand, which is foil-like in shape, and by stabilization of the shoulder joint that is translated to the forward-directed force to the body propelling it past the hand. This is called propulsive lift theory. Torque is the rotary effect of a force about an axis of rotation measured as the product of the force and the perpendicular distance between the force's line of action and the axis. Swimmers attempt to maximize torque by extending their limb segments at the start of the stroke to propel themselves forward using propulsive drag with as much force as possible. Buoyancy is an upward force exerted by a fluid that opposes the weight of an immersed object. In a pool or other body of water, pressure increases with depth as a result of the weight of the overlying fluid. Thus, the pressure at the bottom of a column of fluid is greater than at the top of the column. Similarly, the pressure at the bottom of an object submerged in a fluid is greater than at the top of the object. This pressure difference results in a net upwards force on the object. The magnitude of that force exerted is proportional to that pressure difference and, as explained by Archimedes' principle, is equivalent to the weight of the fluid that would otherwise occupy the volume of the object. So how can we utilize the different biomechanical concepts to maximize a swimmer's performance? Swimming is all about speed, so we want to optimize the efficiency and effectiveness of the swimmer's breaststroke technique to get them from one end of the pool to the other end as quickly as possible.
Okay, so in the video Alex and I are about to show you guys, we're going to be talking about how the Olympic swimmer is biomechanically performing the breaststroke correctly.
So, good movement in the breaststroke is achieved through highly effective work per stroke, optimal stroke rate, a propulsive kick, and a glide phase. Body roll is also important because it allows the swimmer to use the large, powerful muscles of the trunk rather than relying solely on the muscles of the shoulder and arms.
Bad movement in the breaststroke is achieved through poor coordination with arms and/or legs, causing difficulty with breathing technique and poor forward propulsion.
Good breathing technique includes minimally raising the head and shoulders for minimal drag. Excessive head and shoulder movement creates many ripples in the water and excess drag. Try to have the chin thrust forward, slightly above the surface of the water. When breathing, lift the body forward, not rocking back. Any backward motion decreases forward horizontal velocity. Keep the hips at the surface while breathing. Most elite swimmers achieve this motion through thoracic spine hyperextension, but can also be performed by pressing the chest forward and minimally raising the head.
Explosively exhale immediately after the lake catch position. A quick exhale keeps the chest low and streamlined, as air in the lungs likely raises the chest secondary to floating lungs. Quickly inhale at the beginning of the recovery stage, then return the head to the water. The breathing action and return to streamline should be completed before the drop of the legs prior to when kicking is completed.
The starting point is at a stretch and streamline position known as the glide phase. Your arms are extended forward, your hands are close together with the palms facing downwards. Your legs are extended and pressed together and your toes are pointed.
The outsweep phase is initiated by rotating your hands so that your thumbs tilt downward to a 45-degree angle and your arms press outward in line with your forearms. Keep your arms straight until you create a Y-shaped profile with your body. The width of your arm stroke is dependent upon individual strength.
During the catch, you change the orientation of your arms so that your forearms and palms are facing backwards, preparing for the propulsive phase of the arm stroke.
The insweep is the propulsive phase of the arm stroke. Move your arms backwards, then inwards and upwards so that you sweep diagonally backwards against the water. Bring your hands below your chest and your elbows against your rib cage. At the end, your palms should be facing each other.
Once your hands are close together under your chest at the end of the insweep, move them forward just below the water surface until your arms are extended. Once your arms are extended, you can briefly glide again and start the next stroke before losing momentum. Proper breaststroke kick technique leads to more propulsive power and a faster swimming speed. Flex your feet at the start of the kick and keep your heels as close to your bottom as possible. As your legs extend outward and backwards, push the water backwards with the soles of your feet, propelling your body forward. Point your toes at the end of the kick as your legs straighten and ankles come together, and try to get the soles of your feet to face each other as much as your ankle flexibility will allow. At the recovery phase of the kick, bend your legs, keeping knees as close together as possible while bringing your heels up towards your bottom.
Our analysis has been backed by a number of studies. A 2013 article published in the Journal of Swimming found that propulsion during the breaststroke came from both lift force and propulsive drag, with a majority of the propulsion coming from drag. This stands in contrast with research dating back a few decades suggesting propulsion during the movement came predominantly from lift, arising from the foil shape of the hand as it moves through the water.
Additionally, a 2007 article published in the International Journal of Sports Medicine found that the entry lane glide phase is the time between the head making contact with the water and the beginning of the arm pull phase. The pull-out phase is the time between the beginning of the arm pull phase and the head resurface. The sum of the entry and glide phase and the pull-out phase equal the underwater phase. A single downward dolphin kick followed by a breaststroke kick is permitted while wholly submerged. The swim phase is the time between the head resurface and the moment when the head reaches the 15-meter mark. This backs up our phase analysis previously mentioned in this video. Lastly, an article published in the year 2000 from the Journal of Sports Science found that in an analysis of kinematic variables in nationally ranked swimmers in the 100-meter and 200-meter breaststroke, greater speed was achieved by adopting a greater stroke rate, coupled with a shorter stroke length. 100-meter swimmers favor the propulsive phase of the stroke, which led them to increase stroke rate with a resultant decrease in stroke length. As for 200-meter swimmers, they tried to optimize their swimming by lengthening their glide phase and reducing stroke rate in the process. Bad movement in the breaststroke involves poor coordination with arm or legs, causing difficulty with breathing technique and poor forward propulsion. Proper breaststroke kick technique leads to more propulsive power and a faster swimming speed.
Up to 80% of the propulsion in breaststroke comes from the legs, which is why technique for the lower body is important. The breaststroke fins can be an effective teaching and training tool for both beginning levels and established breaststroke swimmers because they greatly accelerate breaststroke kick technique. The fins help teach the swimmers how to understand the resistance and recovery of the legs during the kick, as well as working on the propulsion out front and timing of the breath. The curve on the fin puts the wearer's foot in the proper frog kick position. The fins help teach the swimmers how to understand the resistance and recovery of their legs during the kick, as well as working on the propulsion out front and the timing of their breath. The curve on the fins puts the swimmer's foot into the proper frog kick position and helps to emphasize the swimmer's feel for the foot and ankle positioning. Their design also prevents uninhibited whip kick motions. This unique fin designed to build the leg muscles where they need to be strengthened and also improves core strength for optimal performance in the breaststroke.
Other tips for improving technique unrelated to kicking include focusing on keeping the fingers together during the arm movements of the stroke to decrease resistance through the water and maximizing propulsive drag, as well as imagining the arm movements of the breaststroke as if you were scooping ice cream out and extending the arms out and giving it to someone. This is often how children who are beginning to learn the stroke are taught.